Hi, everybody. Welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Expo. I'm super excited to be presenting today here with Jacob Sanchez. My name's Ian Storck, and we are both manufacturing industry, video production specialists, and content creators. As you saw outside, the name of this is our passion in manufacturing, and so we will be talking about how we harnessed our passions and how we are bringing that to the forefront with our content creation, as well as using it as a force for change in order to help the manufacturing industry continue to grow and succeed. And so,
awesome. And I will kick a little more of that off by saying, yes, I'm Jacob Sanchez, industry analyst, content creator at Industrial Strength Marketing now. I've been in manufacturing, though, since I was 15. So if that says anything, I know I may not have the years on me, but I do have a lot of experience, as does Ian. Spent the beginning part of my career not knowing this industry ever existed. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more because, if anything, that's going to speak to how finding a passion, whether it's your passion or helping somebody else find their passion in manufacturing, can lead to some great things. Because as you'll find out, this industry was never meant for me. So with that, I want Ian to kick it off with a little bit of his background.
Sure thing. So a little bit about my background is going to be talking a lot of it about storytelling. So when I was very, very young, I was always telling stories. I would set up action figures and I would create storylines for them. And when I got older, I would continue creating stop motion videos. And then later into high school, I would be doing video projects for everything. Every project that could be multimedia, video, anything of the sort, I would create something and create something fun. So as I continued studying film throughout the years, I would journal about it. I would analyze characters. I would see their stories, their growth. I would, just dive deeper and deeper as much as I could. And of course, with Hollywood movies, I was always attracted to the sleek visuals that they offer. And so I went to college for film, and this was about at the same time that I got into the manufacturing world. I actually started at the family manufacturing business like many of you did. I was sweeping the floors and cleaning out the stock rooms during the summer. And so as I continued my journey in college for film, I started moving away from the ideas of Hollywood and feature films in that regard and began to focus more on documentaries. I really got a passion for focusing on real people and real stories and seeing how I would be able to capture all of these narratives. So upon graduating, I went back to that manufacturing company where I'd been working with my family business. And working as a marketing assistant, I started to think maybe my passion wasn't going to fit in this industry. The thing about manufacturing that I found being dumped into it as someone who really didn't have that technical background is it was very technical heavy. There was a lot going into manufacturing of things. There was a lot going into the engineering aspects of things. And I didn't know how storytelling or anything like that would play into creating content for the industry. So as I kept through for the years, that was about 2015, I think, when I started there. I kept going, kept working there at their marketing department, and then I went to a marketing agency that was specifically for manufacturing. And so throughout all those years, I eventually did get that better understanding of manufacturing. I got more of that technical knowledge, and I made it my goal to continue to learn more and make sure that I was understanding the things that I was filming and the things that I was creating content for. And so we end up at 2022, where I went full-time freelance on my own. And I made it my goal to create productions and create content that was specifically focused on storytelling in the manufacturing industry, above all else. And so my goal was to hone in on the companies that I was working with, find out their stories, and share this compelling info that they might not be already sharing. And plus, with that bit of interest in the Hollywood, I wanted to share the manufacturing industry visually in a way that it hadn't been shared before. I wanted to make it more visually exciting, and I wanted that to complement the things within the industry that I'm filming that are also exciting. So this this passion that I harnessed was my desire for storytelling and bringing all of this to the manufacturing industry. And I think by having that initiative and creating content in this way, it can change the perception of the manufacturing industry, especially through social content. And it can really shape how future generations and the future workforce sees this industry. And I think Jacob is the perfect person to give a little bit more background on that.
Thanks, man. I'm going to start off with saying, if you guys are in this room right now, I can only assume a few things about you. You either are trying to find your passion in manufacturing, you know your passion in manufacturing and are curious about others, or you want to help somebody find their passion in manufacturing, or you came here to listen on how cool Ian is with content creation because you need him, or you want to do it yourself. When I show you this, to me, this is what having a passion in manufacturing can be for somebody. This product, this part right here. I made this when I was 18 on a 5-axis Haas CNC mill, simultaneous machining. I also taught that to a group of 5th graders that came in for the day on manufacturing day, and I showed them how cool it was to just cut chips and just run machines. This thing right here, this is what it looks like to have a passion in automation. This was given to me by a company in Germany called IGES because they know my mission for educating the world on what our industry is really about. All of this, everything that I've done so far and everything that I hope to continue to do was honestly never meant for me. I come from a small town in California. My family still all lives there. They've lived there for the past 50 years, 10 miles away from where they were born and raised. Nobody's ever moved out. My goal growing up, the thing that I had to look forward to was just people telling me, Jakey, please just finish 5th grade. Jacob, just get to 8th grade. You're in high school now, for the love of God, just graduate. That is all I was ever fed was just finish the school, just finish the school. There was never a career to look for or look towards. And to me, if you would have mentioned engineering to, I don't care how old I was, you could have picked me from when I was 6 to, let's say, 14. If you would have told me, oh, you know about robotics, oh, you know about this, I would have thought you were joking. This never existed in my life. To me, engineering, robotics was Tony Stark. It was Iron Man. That was my role model because it was something I knew I'd never be able to do, but it was so cool to see somebody invent and create something. And it was always just a pipe dream. The only job that was ever in my life was with the dad that raised me. He was a carpenter and a contractor. Now that, I was like, you're building these things that I live in or I go to school, and that's awesome. Like, I want to do that. And I remember the day that he looked at me and he said, I don't want you to be like me. I don't want you to do this work. He wanted me to use my head. And so that's another job gone. And I didn't fall into this job, into this career, engineering, until I moved to some new high school away from my friends and family in California. And I got thrown into engineering because cooking class was full. As an elective, that was the easy A I wanted in high school, and everybody wanted that too. And so I got passed off in some engineering class, and I was pissed. I was furious that I had to sit in this room, and they were trying to teach me all this math. I had to draw a top, side, front view on a piece of paper of this part, and I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing. I hate art. Why am I doing this? And long story short with that, I eventually wanted to learn more. I saw the shop. I got out of that classroom and I saw the shop. I saw the machines out there. I was like, this is something. I made my first part. People were impressed. Adults were like, how did you make that? As a kid, I was 15. How did you make this happen? Now I was really excited. That took off. After high school, I stayed in it. I got started with Titans of CNC Academy. That's where I made all of these parts. Every part in my machinist briefcase over here was made when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, running titanium, steels. The passion blew up. It wasn't always there. It was given to me by teachers, leaders, people like you in this industry could inspire somebody to get started in this. And when we're talking about having a passion in manufacturing, it's more than just giving somebody a good pep talk. shortly after Ian, when he dives into what it means to be a content creator, I'm going to dive into 3 things that any of you can take into your daily life or into your businesses to up your culture in your workplace, to up people's passion in your workplace, and in people's lives, to let them know what this industry is really about.
So as we continue the journey looking at stories in the manufacturing industry, throughout the years working with more and more companies, I came to realize a couple of things about how it's presented. One is that there is an abundance of really rich history and stories and backgrounds to almost all of the companies that I work with, as well as the entire American manufacturing industry in general, and they really aren't showcased as much as they could be, as they should be. And the other thing is that there is often near futuristic technology being used in manufacturing and near futuristic products being used in manufacturing. I mean, manufacturing makes things that allow spaceships to actually function, and that's pretty cool. And so I think it doesn't get the respect that it deserves because of how it's presented, and I feel like a lot of it falls victim to the classics dull, dark, dirty, and dangerous in what people think of it. I tell people about what I do, and I tell them what industry I'm in, and I'm excited about it. And I will have to admit, I get a lot of younger people who say, that sounds boring when I say manufacturing. And they don't have that enthusiasm that I do because they don't know what goes into the industry. They don't know exactly what the industry is really doing. And I often wonder where that portrayal is coming from. Where are they getting the ideas that it's still dull, dark, and dirty? Is it, it's from the media? I mean, when movies show manufacturing, what do you see? It's usually something super futuristic, or it's like the really, really bad end of dull, dark, and dirty. And so it could be that. It could be just what they assume from hearing it, what they've read in the history books of the last 100 years of manufacturing. Or it just could be what they've been told or what they assume. And so with the awareness not there, my thought was I should help change the perception of it. I should show these people who think that it sounds boring that it's actually cool. And I want to make it my goal to show off exactly how cool it is. I mean, it's clear that people find science and technology and things interesting. I mean, how many times have you been on social media and you've seen a viral video of a robot, automation at work? I mean, some cool 3D printed part or something that's been CNC machined that just looks amazing and you couldn't believe that could have been made on a CNC machine. And especially things like how it's made, yeah, and things like this and all the different channels that Jake's worked on with Titan. And we're in the era of social content creation being key. So short form performs better. We know this now. Gen Z loves TikTok. They spend 24 to 48 hours per month on it. And 40% of them use TikTok more than Google. So couldn't be able to discover this content through social media, through TikTok. So I took the role of content creator in 2023. And I made content for the industry, not specifically for companies, but my goal was to make content for the industry as a whole and giving it the attention it deserves with whatever I can use from my passion and my talents and my experience to try and bring that in, wrap it all together, and just create something that can help showcase what I see in the industry from my vision. And I started by sharing tips and tricks videos to my network on LinkedIn. It was just to show the fellow content creators, to show fellow marketers in the industry how I do things that I do. And maybe if they want to learn how to do a technique better, how to film a certain machine better, how to, film in a machine shop, because that's not easy. You know how dirty some of them are, you know how dark some of them are, and you have to work with it. And I created these videos to help better the industry visually and help people create better content themselves. I wanted to equip and inspire them to help the industry succeed. And so I also attended trade shows, much like this one, and created overview videos. I wanted to show off all the cool demos, all the cool products that were being announced and released. And I interviewed people. I got backgrounds on, the history of the product, why it was there, why they needed it, and what they were showing off. And I wanted to visually present it in a way that wasn't normally seen coming out of events like this. I wanted to showcase just how cool it is and add a little bit of visual flair to it, something that'll make it eye-catching, to draw more people in so they can really see what's being put on display at events like this. And on the other side of things, on the other side of visually, I have emotionally. And that is something that I could gather from the time being in the family manufacturing business is I saw the story behind it. I saw the history of it. And I worked with many companies very similar to those who had the family origins where it started from a shop in a garage and now hundreds of employees, multiple facilities. How they grew this business, all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the growth maybe isn't told, maybe isn't put out there. And so I always want to weave in a story in what I do. And so when I've been approached to create content, it's not always, they don't always want the history in the video. It could be about a product. It could be something like that. But adding in the story to it is something that I try to do to make it a little more unique, a little more memorable. There's a reason, there's a story behind a product, a process, why it was needed, who created it, what does it serve, how does it help the industry get better by releasing this product, by creating this, who is this going to help? And so while you may be able to talk about technical, there is a backstory to it, and that's something that I'm always seeking out. So I will say this about the history is be proud of it. Be proud of the history and values that your company has. I've talked to people before, and when they create something like that, maybe they don't want to talk about their values. But I think that it's a really important thing to touch on. I see in a time like this where we have trouble finding new people and people want to create, a hiring video for their company to try and generate interest, get more workforce. I think your brand video, your company's story, the about us, should be used also as your hiring video. Because I think the capabilities, your products, I think that's all just as important as the core values that your company upholds and how it gives back to their employees, what it can offer to them as your company is a team and a community. So it's not just the capabilities, it's the core values and the mission statement that are important in this regard. Lots of people make what you make. A lot of people can do what you do, but your story and your values is what makes you stand out and what makes you different from everyone else in the crowd.
Nice. So our goal here with putting on this session that all of you are attending is I want you to leave with something. We're going to have an opportunity for questions later on towards the end, but I want you to leave with action that you can take. And so that's what I base some of my key reasonings and things I'm going to give you out. I've tested this with roughly 30 companies across manufacturing and automation that have all implemented or are implementing these strategies in their companies to make culture better, workforce development, and it's all revolving around giving people something to look forward to other than the work. It's all about whether it's their outside of work passions or their passions they have for their job. It's firing that up. It's fueling that aspect of their lives. So I'm going to give you a few seconds just in case you do want to write this down, take notes, type away. I like the quiet. So the one thing that I've implemented that one company in the Detroit area has just implemented, I believe 2.5 weeks ago, and a company on the West Coast that they've been doing this strategy for 2.5 months now, I believe. I can't disclose either of the names, but they did say I can use them as a reference in this speech, is Upfront Trust. So I had a 3.5-hour conversation with an automation company CEO about what it means to give upfront trust to your employees. And I told this story. When I was 16 and a half in high school, my teacher gave me the opportunity, the responsibility to be able to come in. I was able to go into that shop on weekends. I was able to stay in that shop after hours into the night. As long as he was there, I could run machines. If he was not there, I could use the computers. I can do anything without any type of motor in it. So I could CAD and I could CAM. And that's a big deal for a 16-year-old. Some of these companies won't even let 16-year-olds look at a machine, let alone actually run the softwares. They think you would need at least 4 years of experience on that machine before you can touch any of that complicated, fancy stuff that's out now. But what I'm saying is he gave me the chance and opportunity. He didn't make me earn it. And that's something that is still a big thing in the industry, is people thinking that trust is earned all the time. Some of the time it is. With this new generation of workers coming in, trust is something that's expected from them to be given. And when you can go above and beyond to give them more, a lot of the times you're going to see an even greater return. And so what these companies are implementing when I talked about upfront trust with them is two things. And I was focused around benefits just because of what the companies had going on. One is unlimited vacation time. There is a manufacturing company in Detroit that has implemented unlimited vacation time for their workers. That is like, you only think of that with Google and Microsoft, let alone in our industry. And the second thing is a tiered benefits package where I actually sent them, it's a tier 1, 2, and 3. And you can pick 3 things from 1 thing from 2, and 2 things from 3. And this just gives people, it's more exciting to be able to choose things. People like being able to feel like they're in control of what they're getting when it comes to their life and their job. So the fact that you're providing these things to the workers up front, not making it earned after 5 years, 10 years of service, you're already getting them excited. They're pumped up because you're unique. You're memorable. Like they're already loving their job and it hasn't even started yet. They just signed the papers and they're like, these are my benefits. So those are a few things that I've implemented when it comes to upfront trust. The second thing is, and this is, I'm guilty of this one, and I know a lot of us are, so that's why I say it with pride and not shame. We need to stop selling our industry and start showing our industry. What I mean by that is a lot of companies, as Ian pointed out, a lot of companies do the same thing or have a lot of the same services. One of that being apprenticeship programs and internship programs. Go find me a company out there right now that doesn't have some type of what they call onboarding or training for their workers. Now, go out there and find me a company that can actually show progressive documented growth with that internship or that apprenticeship. It's very few. It's very few. And why would you make this your prime selling point for why these, let's start with kids, people going into high schools and colleges, why they should remember you when all they hear that entire career day fair is about apprenticeships and internships. And this isn't me saying that they're bad and that you should not offer them. You should continue to develop these in your business and make them better and make them applicable to not just onboarding, but actual internal employees. What I'm saying is these kids want you to, they want to be given something. They want to know that when they come to work for you, they're doing more for the world. They're very driven on worldviews when it comes to eco-friendly activities, when it comes to some of their beliefs, some of their passions. They want to know that you don't have to believe the same things, but that you may support them in a certain way so they can pursue those things. And so you really just need to shake up how we're showing off this industry. No more cover-ups. No more trying to make it seem like we're this pristine place where nothing goes wrong. I'm a first robotics judge, and I talk to kids from 3rd grade to 12th grade. They know what problems are. They face them on their teams. They know what it means to have a confrontation. They know what it means to have issues with coworkers or team members. And they know what it's like to have a problem with a product or something that you're selling to a customer because it happens on their robots. Let's not try to make it like this industry doesn't have our problems. Let's embrace how we solve them. Let's start showing them these unique things about us and not just the same thing that we all have. So stop selling our industry, start showing our industry. And the last one that really ties into what Ian spoke about is videos do more than sell a product. They can tell your story. And this doesn't have to be your company's story. If you're trying to get out there as more of a leader and you want to do more things in your career or even in your personal life, video is a great way to do that. Not everything has to be a YouTube video. Not everything has to go on TikTok. None of the content creation you do even has to go on social, depending on your purposes. But the fact that you can create something and send it to anyone, it's a digital little resume. It's a resume people can watch. It's something that people can watch to learn more about you. And we really need to start leveraging how we're using video to show ourselves off, to show our industry off. Not everything we do has to be, this is my product. I'm going to stand in front of it. I'm going to talk about it. You're going to look at it from a distance. And then that's it. Like a lot of the videos are. You can do more with this. You can do action with this. You can go out in the community and you can engage with somebody. Hey, you ever seen something like this? This was made on a CNC. You know what a CNC machine is? And you can do some playbacks. You can mess with them. You can, and if you're not that outgoing or you're still trying to find your own voice, practice yourself. When you're alone with that camera, with stuff like this, you're alone. Don't try to think of who's going to be watching you or how many viewers you have or don't have. It's you and that camera. Get your message across. Get your passion out there. Get people excited. You have an opportunity. We all have an opportunity to pick up our phone. You don't got to own a camera and make something. Make a piece of content. Put something out there that has never existed before. The thing that people get excited about, that I've seen kids get excited about, is when I tell them, this never existed on the face of the earth until our engineer designed it, and I made this. Not everybody can say that. Not everybody has the privilege and the pride to say this was never on the planet until it came into my hands and it came out of that machine. There's something really unique about manufacturing and automation that we need to start stepping into. And if you can't always talk to everybody face to face, you got video.
Thanks, Jake. As you can see, he's very passionate about it, and so am I. And so that is, again, what we're here to talk about. And so I just wanted to share just a little bit, just like what Jake said. If you care about the industry and if you want to make it, make the awareness there, just how cool it is, just how awesome it is technically, and what you really are doing to try and get that interest going, just start creating content. And that's what I did. I was barely on social media. Even though I was in the industry working on things, I was barely on social media. And I was inspired by another content creator, Eddie Saunders Jr. I don't know if any of you know him. He is running around here too. You should go find him. He inspired me to get started. And from getting started, it just kept going and going. And pretty soon, creating more and more content for the industry just out of nothing, essentially. And I think that's really cool. And I think if it can happen to someone like me, starting from no followers, imagine somebody who has lots of followers on LinkedIn or social media already, what they can do to help make a change in the industry and how people see it. So find that passion.
You mind if I jump in on it? That's an excellent point. So just so you guys know too, yes, this wasn't something I've always been doing. Like content creation stuff too, manufacturing, brand new to me. When I got into automation, brand new to me. I'm going to tell a story real quick because they're in the background. When I got into automation, I knew nothing about robotics except what I did at Titans with making my own lights out cell. But when I did that, I programmed the robot, I programmed the machine. I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, I got to do this full time. I called a company that had not seen me in 2 years, Edgewater Automation. I called Tim Tate, who was he wasn't the vice president at the time, he was the vice president now. Called him, I said, hey, do you remember me? He was like, oh yeah, I remember met you at this show. Like, how's it going? I was like, well, going good. I'd like a job. And long story short, they flew me out, some kid in Texas, to Michigan. Did the interview, flew back, they hired me. I moved to Michigan knowing nobody, knowing nothing about my job, no friends, no family. And 2 years later, I got to work on some of the craziest systems that I believe are out in that industry that got sold, are in production right now, and got to learn tons about what really happens with automation, because it's more than just a robot. It's more than a robot on a line, trust me. And that was taught to me. And I remember our HR telling me that one of the main reasons that I got hired, because he said to my face, Jacob, you had no experience. You were not qualified to be an application engineer. But this right here, this stuff, this is what they liked. This showed them that I had a skill. I was able to learn something. So why not this? So I had to jump in there, Ian, just so you guys know, everything comes from nothing. You don't have to be born into this stuff. You don't have to be an expert right off the bat. Content creation I've been doing for 2 years. That's it. My LinkedIn channel, it's as long as it's been up. Anybody can start, and you can start whenever you want.
And yeah, and whether it's content creation for yourself or for your company, put yourself out there if you can. Share your story. Talk about your history, your values, who you are, what you stand for. Create that human connection, and that'll speak volumes more than anything else.
Thank you to Joni. Thank you to Creston. Thank you to AME. Thank you all for being here. If you guys ever have any questions for us, you can stay after right now. If you see us out there on that floor, don't hesitate to stop us.